Hello, Echo. I do believe that is facts. Hello, welcome to Panther and Cage, where it is believed that there's no such thing as a dumb question. It's October 18th, 2021, and this is Panther and Cage, when the leadership demands too. Panther and Cage is a vlogcast where we speak responsibly on a variety of topics from a very unique Afrocentric perspective. Uh, Tonight, I'm your host, Panther, and I would like to welcome you to responsibly comment, like, and or share our Panther and Cage live stream or any of the other content that's presented on the Panther and Cage Facebook page. Now, you're encouraged to help advance these conversations that we have through your audience comments. So they are welcome. Those comments are considered as contributions that are meant to help, create these tangible solutions to remedy the perpetuation of social and cultural bigotry. This is your first time joining us. Prepare yourself as we expose negative narratives that have historically perpetuated and been weaponized to dehumanize and disenfranchise melanated people of power. Um, and in doing so, we use the opportunity to eliminate the ignorance bred to exist within the discussion of race relations in America. Now, this is the challenge, but I hope that you enjoy. The previous live stream was about 2 weeks ago, September the 27th, and that was Panther and Cage 23.5 that dealt with the history of gatekeeping of foods. And that live stream, we dealt with, or in that live stream, the common intolerant behavior of gatekeeping was explored, but we specifically examined it in the form of the racial gatekeeping of pools and beaches. Now, we had the opportunity to learn where, that's where the concept of wade-ins came about, and the impact that they had on the 1960s civil rights movement. And that was through the Monson Motor Lodge incident that happened in St. Augustine, Florida. Uh, and the show kind of touched on the American reaction of integration and what the author and expert strategist Heather McGhee called the cost of racism. Now, we reviewed the very tragic incident where in addition, we reviewed this very tragic incident where six African American teenagers drowned in the Louisiana Red River, and they were attempting to save their cousin. And we looked at, a little closer at the stand against the pool gatekeeping by Mr. Fred Rogers of the old television show that many older people understand or know to be called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now, that live stream was a very informative experience. And it will definitely, if you go and watch that, it will definitely give you a more rounded perspective regarding the historical occurrences that surrounded this pool gatekeeping that we've been told is a rising trend. Um, I wouldn't define it that, but now the previous community leadership demands. Panther and Cage reviewed the aftermath of the shooting incident in D.C., which led to the public press conference by the D.C. Metropolitan Police Chief Robert Conti. We examined his speech thoroughly. We listened to it, and he assessed that the overburdened justice system has helped to contribute to the gun violence that's experienced, and he asked for the community members of DC to join him in making the court processing accountable. Now, we talked a little bit about the Black on Black crime narrative very briefly and the effects of the prison industrial complex. We talked about immigration in that one and the anti crime bill legislation. And basically, here we are. These are for another community leadership demands. Only this time, we're going to take a look at the hypocrisy of leaders that are stepping up to quell the demand for diversity. And we may not look into that as deep tonight. There are a couple of issues I've been having technically for the past hour. Um, it tends to happen sometimes, very, very often here on this show. But there were some speech that I wanted to show you so that you could we could explore and examine that. So we may not get a chance to do that tonight, but I will post a link for that. And in the process of all of this occurring, I'm going to give you a start as to what we are actually talking about.
At my core, I'm a runner, but I wasn't always fast. Here in Wrightsville, Georgia, it's just a little town. It's where I grew up, and I got real fast.
He's a 4.340 man, and no one can catch him. What a run.
I learned discipline, faith in God, and the value of hard work. I learned about sacrificing the things you want in the moment for the future you know you can have if you work hard enough. I've been a lot of places, but in Wrightsville, I learned the important lessons. If you want it bad enough, you work for it, you can get it.
The 1982 Heisman Memorial Trophy, Herschel Walker.
You might stumble, make mistakes, but you only fail if you give up. The politicians pick American against American, rich versus poor, black versus white, urban versus rural. I don't believe in that garbage. It's a lie. I'm a conservative, not because someone told me to be. I'm a conservative because I believe in smaller government, a strong military, personal responsibility, and making sure all people have the opportunity to pursue their dreams. That's an America worth fighting for.
Herschel Walker is the 45.
My name is Herschel Walker, and I'm running for the United States Senate. I'm a kid from a small town in Georgia who's lived the American dream, and I'm ready to fight to keep that dream alive for you too.
Now that was an ad, obviously, from Herschel Walker, who is, well, let me get right into it. Herschel Walker is using his widespread name recognition in Georgia as a football legend in the state to take advantage of this opportunity to run for as a candidate for the U.S. Senate. Now, Walker is an alumnus of University of Georgia, who's achieved this Hall of Fame status with the university. Walker emerged as a favorite candidate among Trump supporters for the 2022 midterm elections, and he's been endorsed by Donald Trump. Now, early polling shows that Walker is far ahead of the other Republican candidates who are also seeking a nomination for the candidate for U.S. Georgia Senate. Now, before I go any further, I want to give you all of that in written form. Give me a chance to share this screen here. All right. So, like I said, he's using his widespread name recognition to be able to use that for an opportunity to obtain a Senate seat. Now, Herschel Walker is a legendary running back who won the 1982 Heisman Trophy, but instead of dodging and running from linemen this time, Walker is now dodging these difficult questions and running from the campaign trail media interviews, so to speak. But it's likely been a result of the suspected GOP public political strategy, where they're placing Walker in, what the article, several articles have actually acknowledged this, but where the article stated that they were placing Walker in these tightly controlled events and limiting his interviews to friendly outlets like Fox News. So Senator Lindsey Graham sent over a couple of top members of his campaign to help Walker's team get Walker's campaign off of the ground. Walker's campaign is operating under this assumption that Walker's celebrity status, being a football player in the state of Georgia, plus the endorsement from Trump, would be enough to carry him over to to the GOP primary. Now, Herschel Walker had a speech in Perry, Georgia, recently, and it was a Trump rally. And I tried to get that. That was a speech that I was having technical difficulties with, so I'm not going to be able to show you that. And it's kind of irrelevant. It is extremely relevant, but it's kind of irrelevant to Brevard County. So it was just setting the stage to give you an example. But you can view that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the source link for that, in the comment section so that everybody's able to see and listen to Walker's entire speech that he made at Donald Trump's Save America rally in Georgia. And he's amazing. He's still holding his rallies, but and I'm going to give this a chance. If you want to make a comment now or whatnot, you can go ahead and make that comment if you know anything about it or if you have anything to say, even contentious or something that, you feel I wouldn't agree with. Now's your time to do that. I'm going to go ahead and post this link in the comment section for everyone. Give it to you later. Now I have to go to the Let's Talk About It group and actually go in there separately, post a comment, which I will attempt to do. So give me one moment. All right. Now, I don't see any comments. This is conjuring up the conversation that I had with someone recently about this. I had several conversations over the past 2 weeks. Some of them frustrating, some of them very informative, as in offering me the opportunity to grow in perspective. But had some very frustrating conversations, and when it came to someone sent this to me, the initial time I watched it, I immediately thought that this just makes me say that being Black shouldn't be the only qualification for leadership of the Black community. I know sometimes that seems to come off as that could be what others are saying, but I assure you that that is not the narrative here. Okay, so that process and concept of standardizing just because you're Black, you are a leader in the Black community is a very difficult one to explain. It's a very difficult one to discuss, and it does need to be talked about. Obviously, because we're talking about something that's relevant to that today. Just having a Black athlete is not qualification, or at least I was told, which we'll talk about that in a moment. Qualification for leadership, political leadership, that is, right? Where did I get that idea? You'll find out in just a second. So But like I said, that is another conversation. We are so technically far behind being able to really collectively have that conversation about, being Black is the only qualification for leadership in the Black community. Um, so, like I said, we're so far from being able to have that, collective conversation without suffering too much collateral damage, which is why you heard me stumbling over what I was just trying to explain to you. But Herschel Walker has a lot of issues that I feel that he will be having to clear up once he's asked, about the specifics of his agenda. Once everybody else knows that, he's running. So this is when the heat, would turn up for him. But that may have actually already started. Now, I have to do this because it's a very offensive image, and I don't want to offend anyone. But this is something that I'm using just to bring awareness to and educate those who care to learn about some of the nuances that are going on in these conversations that we're having. This is a very important topic tonight, very important topic. But according to the Atlanta Journal Constitution, uh, Herschel Walker has called off a fundraiser that was set to be hosted last weekend by Bettina Sophia Viviano Langlaise. Hope I didn't butcher that name. I probably did. But that person is a conservative filmmaker. Now, this action of canceling the fundraiser was preceded by a backlash over the conservative filmmaker's use of the images or the image of syringes in the shape of a Nazi swastika for her Twitter profile picture. Now, Viviano Langlaise, who goes by Hollywood Resistance on Twitter, changed that profile picture after the swastika image was widely publicized Wednesday morning. Now, Viviano Langlaise, has long equated vaccine mandates with fascism on her social media page. And in a post on Wednesday, she said she removed the symbol because the left's need to silence free speech. And she didn't intend for it to be anti-Semitic. It was a pic that, she stated it was a pic showing what happens when fascists demand people insert foreign material into their body that they don't want. It is a very controversial subject. I'm not going to get into any anti-vaccine talk or any pro-vaccine talk. I'm just simply showing you one of the reasons why uh, Herschel Walker canceled this fundraiser. And the fact that you have somebody around you that would think that this would be okay is very questionable. And I don't want to really judge, but just hear me out as I try to report this. Now, the Democrats and other critics reacted with horror at both the swastika and the campaign's initial reaction. Okay, now the initial reaction you're going to find very interesting. That's what you see there on the caption of the image that is to my left. Now, the Jewish Democratic Council of America said the proud display of swastikas was absolutely vile, and the Jewish Democratic Women's Salon called it beyond unacceptable. They also cited that a swastika is a swastika. Um, Georgia State Democrats also condemned the Walker for U.S. Senate campaign for not immediately distancing themselves from Viviano Langlaise's usage of the Nazi symbol. Now, Walker decided to call off that event scheduled to take place in Viviano Langlaise's home in Texas because the campaign had determined that the image in her Twitter profile was very offensive and it does not reflect the values of Herschel Walker or his campaign. Now, the campaign disavowed usage of the symbol, and they said that Walker opposed anti-Semitism and bigotry in all forms. Now, the full statement from Walker's campaign reads as follows. The previously scheduled event has been called off. Herschel is a strong friend of Israel and the Jewish community and opposes hatred and bigotry in all forms. despite the fact that the apparent intent behind the graphic was to condemn government vaccine mandates. The symbol used is very offensive, and it does not reflect the values of Herschel Walker or his campaign. But the campaign spokeswoman earlier in the day defended that imagery posted by Viviana Langlaise, and she was telling media that it was, as you see at the bottom caption, clearly an anti-mandatory vaccine graphic. I tell you that, I personally saw it, as such also initially, but I could probably empathize with those who would find it very offensive if it were a picture of a noose or a burning cross. So I think that that image used in conjunction with the others on her Twitter page gives the sense that, this kind of this astonished skepticism regarding this whole alt-right and their relationship to the general Republican Party agenda. But if you want to understand what I mean by that, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a look yourself. So let me go ahead and pull this photo up, okay? Let's see if I can get that showing for you. This is the image in question. You can see here her Twitter page with the vote red, vote Republican. Not odd, as a Trump, image subdued in the background, but still not odd. Okay, still not odd. But to immediately see this, this Nazi symbol is like the first thing that you see before you even notice it that it's a syringe. You'll notice more of it's a syringe when you see it up close. But as you can see, it shows that she's a film TV producer, and that she's going by the name of Hollywood Resistance. So that would cause you to actually think about it, especially seeing that she lives in, or at least that the page so-called is based in Los Angeles, California. Now, looking at it saying that she was born October 17th, I don't know if that's valid, but happy birthday to that person, I guess. But it's just obvious that this was kind of done in poor taste. But I think that one of the things with the alt-right is that they are pushing, and they're pushing, let me get this banner back up because I don't want them to look at this symbol and try to shadow ban this stream. So I do not promote Nazism, obviously. I don't think anybody would ever even attempt to try to fabricate something that asinine. But I do want to state and say that because it's amazing some of the things that comes out of think tanks nowadays. So let me get this off the screen. Let me go ahead and move forward to, we didn't see the speech, and that's fine. So we can get right to the actual agenda. And this image was provided by MSNBC and then Fox News. So I just want to, state where I got those images from and why we are showing. Now, how any of this is relevant to the community demands of Brevard County? Well, it starts with the concept of hypocrisy from the members of the Brevard County community. Now, members with a considerable following that shared the belief that an athlete should just shut up and play ball. Back when members of the community were so bold to share their offensive opinion, thinking that none of us were smart enough to pick up on that blatant bigotry and the behavior that was perpetuated from that 1949 social order of haydarky, or hey boy, get back in your place. Many endorse this sort of conservative mantra. It's quite appalling also. But somehow they're endorsing, this attempt to grab a seat at, a senatorial candidate's table by Herschel Walker and his message. And that is a stretch. But what I mean by him being endorsed by Trump, this person and the Brevard County community, you know, backed and endorsed Trump, or basically supported Trump. So, when it comes to this political party, this whole partisan blind support, I find that it's just stunning. It's actually leaving me for a loss of words right now. But I say all that because I'm going to bring it to the point that I wanted to make about these supporters and these supportive agendas, especially when they are also supporting this Christian faith. And that was what I wanted to show you in the speech that Herschel Walker made. So I find that this kind of support that they offer, yet when LeBron James or a Colin Kaepernick uses their platforms for a message that is there's this contradictory reaction towards athletes being qualified to speak on current social issues, even being qualified as a potential future leader of the Brevard County, a future leader, period, of any community. But I keep thinking Brevard County community. These leaders or these individuals with platforms, these athletes with platforms, may be qualified to be potential future leaders for any community that they express their concern for. So when the message, predicates on the foundation of equality, we see this vitriol that comes as a response, and it can be considered discouraging considering the ideals that are publicly claimed by our nation. And that's not a stretch, okay? That's in no way is that a stretch in that assessment, okay? Because the ad hominem attack against LeBron James by Fox News host Laura Ingraham, and I brought that up before, but also the careless commentary by the then commander-in-chief Donald Trump. It personified this collective American sentiment that influenced the minds of excuse me for this term, but sheeple. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you exactly what Laura Ingraham said. And these are words, quote. Okay. They need you to know, get relevance. I'm numb to this commentary. Must they run their mouths like that? He was talking about Kevin Durant and LeBron James, who had spoken on a podcast. And she stated, unfortunately, a lot of kids and some adults take these ignorant comments very seriously. There might be a cautionary lesson in LeBron for kids, but this is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. And it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the commentary to yourself. Or as someone once said, shut up and dribble. Now, Trump stated, wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flags, say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired, he's fired. Now, their actions, unjustified in principle, with Ingram calling LeBron James barely intelligible as a ticker on the bottom of the screen at the same time that she made that comment, was titled Jocks on Politics. And Trump referring to the mothers of protesters as a female dog. quite offensive. Okay. But Ingram endorses Walker, strangely, attempting to get into politics. She even endorsed Drew Brees having a political opinion that, and she stated that he had the freedom to share it. However, she feels that LeBron James and Kevin Durant are dumb jocks. So, because of the previously mentioned actions, Ingram's own moral principles are immediately called into question. And this is hypocrisy that, that we're getting around, that we're going to launch from. Okay. So now we make the comparison between Herschel Walker and James. It's not going to be a very symmetrical measure. But like I questioned months ago, what if James had a calling to get involved in politics, just like Herschel Walker's doing? Should I call him dumb jock? I mean, should I call Herschel Walker a dumb jock and say that the only thing that he should involve himself in with is football? I think that's a no. I mean, it's obvious that's a no. Let me go ahead and get this smaller. All right. So I think it's a no. So it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be morally ethical. Um, it would be hypocritical, actually, right? So you can clearly see the hypocrisy without me having to really break this down uh, any further, revealing to you the fallacies and all the contradictions that are infused into the whole political dog and pony show that we call this American democratic process. I get tired of talking about it sometimes. Like I said, this past couple of weeks, I've been having these discussions about it, and it's been quite frustrating. Frustrating on a different level. And you won't understand that yet. I'm not going to explain that to you tonight. But I will say, okay, that in my opinion, Herschel Walker, okay, looking at his campaign, listening to his speeches, looking at his ad, obviously going to his webpage, looking at where you can make where you can make a donation. I will say that, in my opinion, that Herschel Walker is an example of a black man that conservatives want to, be the leader of the black community. We can obviously see that, and we see that Walker is late coming to the table because of the political strategy employed to keep him in the position to be the most popular political choice for the primary. Now, I mean that he's late as in understanding what he's talking about beyond the political punchlines of the politically undereducated yet fanatical populace. And I don't want to insult anybody there, but I'm talking about these, Fox News punchlines that are very superficial on the surface and that dare not step into the realm of examining or analyzing exactly what is the message. Now, there is no depth of knowledge to the words used to invigorate the Republican Party by Herschel Walker. And that was what I wanted to show in the video. The fact is that, it wasn't hard to see if you look at the speech. That's why I placed that link in the comments so that you guys could witness it for yourself. But, it was a Trump rally. So you already know what the message was. But it is my opinion that Herschel Walker, and this is important, so hear me out. It's my opinion that Herschel Walker is using the plight of the lack of African American representation and leadership to kind of, what's the word, simp for the Republican establishment. Walker, whether it is because he was influenced into running because his friends at Fox suggested it, or because he believes he's doing what he feels is right, he's acting as sort of a conservative placeholder. And he's doing that to appease the black community public outcry for better political representation. And although this simping for power is not the change that is truly desired by the communities of color, negatively impacted or affected by the decisions made by those leaders in those positions, the choice for Herschel Walker as senator isn't anything spectacular, okay? It is like, it's kind of like that rumor that we heard last year about Candace Owens being selected as the running mate for Mike Pence if Trump was impeached. Then I called it the upchuck ticket. So um, I think I just kind of beat that up a little bit. I don't want to beat too much on it. But, like I said, this is along with, the several conversations about Black on Black crime narrative that influenced me to talk about the lack of national Black leadership and the local Black leadership demands for Brevard County specifically. Okay. Um, Give me a moment. Let's get right into this. Here we go. Leadership. Leadership is defined as the office or position of a leader, the capacity to lead, and the act or instance of leading. Now, back in 2017, I was looking into leadership again. I've done it. Former Army, so leadership is something that you learn about first day in. Okay, but like I said, back in 2007, I had a project there, and I was looking into leadership personally, and I thought, to define leadership and to define it academically as such, leadership is the position or function of a person who is using his or her unique ability to guide, influence, or command the direction of a group. So leaders have a tremendous impact on the group. We can understand, we recognize that, you know, immediately. Um, there's a great deal of responsibility that is inherent to the concept of leadership. Now, the qualities demonstrated by a good leader contribute to the well-being of the entire organization or the group. Either way, we understand that these leaders contribute to the organization's culture because of that, and they also contribute to the behavior of the group. Okay, so for the tap it back up, just to make sure catching messages that are direct to me. So, for the sake of this discussion, uh, I'm going to request that anyone can submit their answer. This is where it gets interactive. And this is not going to be one where I'm just teaching or anything like that. This is just something that I need the questions fielded. I need them out there because I want to get your feedback. And this is anybody, even those who hate the Democratic Party and hate Joe Biden. You're not alone. I just don't go on a political bashing campaign for either or. But I remember last community demands, we did talk about leadership, and we talked about leadership, communicating this high standard for the future. And I wanted to hit home on that because it was very important that we discuss um, the kind of leadership that we have here in Brevard County. And I'm not bashing the leadership that we have or anything here in Brevard County. I'm just getting an assessment first before we move forward as to what is demanded by the leaders. This is why it's called community leadership demands. Okay, very simple. I had to create this kind of stream because often in my discussions throughout the community, I find that some people are always holding these expectations, and we don't even know who we should be fielding these demands on. And that was why we asked questions. I do believe at that time I had asked a question in the last community leadership demands, and that question was, what vehicles within Brevard County will make the most significant difference for gun violence? So I asked that question because when you ask someone that question, after they ask and to make these demands of you, because they may consider you a leader, you know, or any other leaders that we have in Brevard County, um, you could ask this question to Wayne Ivey. You could ask this question to Alton Edmond. You could ask this question to uh, Chief Gillespie of Melbourne. You could ask this question to anybody. And, it's not particularly trying to expose any particular Brevard County leader. It's just asking them their opinion. That's what this is, very opinionated question as to what vehicles in Brevard County would make the most significant difference for gun violence. Now, I didn't get any answers for this last time, and I don't think anyone actually, forwarded this to their friends or shared it. I know they didn't share it to their friends or whatever, or even ask this question. But those in the Melanin Project, those who are viewing outside, this is a good question to ask. And your answer is not going to be, it's going to be analyzed, but it's not going to be rejected. It's just going to be submitted among a list of other answers that we can consider when making this actual consideration. Okay. So there are leaders in the community who do listen, and they have a quiet ear to the issues, especially these issues we talk about on Panther and Cage. And they are inquisitive about uh, these answers. So this is why I'm directly answering this question. I could have asked this question on day one when we were talking in the Let's Talk About It group. It wasn't even a group formed at that time. We were talking to Willie Taylor about the black on black violence within the black community. Um, and I'm very careful to how I explain that. So we were having the discussion, and we couldn't even have the discussion because, of course, we kept stating it as as an actual thing, an entity called black on black crime, as if white on white crime doesn't exist, as if black on white crime doesn't exist, as if white on black crime doesn't exist. They only want to consider themselves worried about black on black crime, right? Because that's the biggest problem in the white community. Not human trafficking, not drug smuggling, not embezzlement, not this corruption, not police brutality. Oh, it's black on black crime. So uh, because this is a big issue, I had to field these questions. So one of the biggest questions we have is that you see here on the screen: what vehicles within Brevard County would make the most significant difference for gun violence? You can submit your answers at any time. Um, Even when I leave this live stream, go ahead and put that in the comments. It'll be taken into for consideration. Now, with all of that being said, we're going to move forward to some more questions. Okay, this question is going to be particularly to what we see there on to my left with Herschel Walker. Okay, now I want to ask. We're going to get the question on the screen. Sorry, I got a delay, so I got to wait for that delay to make sure that everything is okay. I want it to be in sync. All right. Now, here we go. I want to ask, for the sake of this discussion, just to be objective in this discussion, can I ask that anyone can submit what, if any, qualities that they believe that Herschel Walker would bring to the Republican establishment? And that's, like I said, that's a question that, just to be objective, so that, I gave you my opinion. I thought that he was a political placeholder for the Conservative Party, just so they can say, hey, look, he's black, he's successful. You other blacks don't have an excuse, quote unquote. Okay. Yes, this kind of stuff is said to me on a weekly basis. You guys have no idea the amount and the frequency of microaggressions that I deal with on a daily basis. I do deal with a lot of people. I do talk to a lot of people. Some of them don't know who I am. But in having a conversation and just passing by, microaggressions seem to be the way to express yourself today. And it's a lot worse now than it has been. And I only think that was, in the past, everyone was asking me questions about the war, the military, and, it's kind of cut and dry sometimes. You can just explain that. They don't go into these political nuances where opinions matter. So I just wanted to ask that question to be objective, but there are a ton of questions I have. So there are a few questions that I only want to pose as requirements to the current status of the social community right now, okay? And those questions are, what leadership concepts or leadership theories would be the most effective for Brevard County? I'm not expecting any comments tonight on the show right now. I don't have that many viewers anyway, but I'm not expecting any answers. You can submit an answer, but I know that right now I'm taking that leap of faith. Now I'll explain that in a second, because this is not going to be a 2-hour show. This is going to be an hour and a half maximum. Okay, and that's with your, but we're about to wrap this up. These are questions that are necessary so that I can get the answers, so that we know what the general populace of Brevard County thinks. You don't make a comment, then I assume you don't care, and you don't have a dog or a pony in this show. You won't have a horse in this race like that. Anyway, the next question, okay, is what leadership comment or concepts or theories would be the most effective for positively influencing the Brevard County African American youth? Right? Very important question. I'll read it again because some people say you lose me. So I crafted this just for you guys. Right? If you care about the black on black crime narrative and that stuff, you should be really glued to this screen right now. Right? Because these are the questions that are directly related to that issue. Okay. So if you can't answer these questions, if you don't even attempt to field these questions or whatever, in 2 weeks from now, and you haven't even made a comment or whatever, then you don't have like I said, you don't have a horse in that conversation. Because once I start going, I'm not slowing down for you. We are 1 year and we're 1 year and a couple of months in, and we still have not finished systemic racism, because we want to make sure to understand this inside, outside, before you make comments, because the narratives that are used were created by white supremacists. You use them, but you say you're not racist. And this is why that conversation, there's a gap between two different communities trying to have this conversation. Okay. So, very important concept I need for you guys to recognize, need you guys to understand. What leadership concepts or leadership theories would be the most effective for positively influencing the Brevard County African American youth? Okay, they're the ones that that apparently are the troublemakers, is what I'm getting from certain conversations I have with specific people. This guy told me that it's them that is causing all the problems. Like I said, the microaggressions I deal with, and I just sat back and I listened because I want to actually hear what he had to say. I felt like if I would have corrected him, he would have closed up. He wouldn't have said anything, and I really want to hear what he had to say, because it was in the middle of conversation. So he stated that it's them that are causing the problem. Okay, older guy, understand you're going to get these microaggressions, but I'm in the culture right now to silencing that most of the time. But for the sake of this discussion, I heard him out, right? So I want to know how you believe, also, how you believe that leadership, concept that you feel would be the most effective for positively influencing the African American Brevard County youth. I want to know how you believe that leadership concept you would submit would help the African American youth become more morally responsible. Okay, and I hear it all the time. So if you say, when I say what leadership concept or theory would be the most effective for positively influencing the Brevard County African American youth, I can tell you Willie Taylor's going to tell me Jesus. Jesus is the answer, right? Okay, hear that. That's put up for consideration. All right. Now, If I say, how does he believe that leadership concept would help African American youth become more morally responsible, he's going to give me a list. He's actually going to give me evidence, experience that he's had in his ministry. He's going to talk about, some of the, I don't want to get too personal, but some of the individuals he's seen give their lives to a higher calling. Um, and he's going to talk about that stuff, and he's going to say how he's seen it make a difference. And I can't discount that. I can't discount that. He's touched a lot of people within the Brevard County community with his gym alone, including my son. Uh, However, we are kind of struggling with getting to Titusville on a frequent basis because of you know where uh, where my travels take me every day. Anyway, it's more personal. Uh, but he would tell me, he would give me that evidence or that information, and that's great. That is exactly what we need. And this is why he actually does a lot of the work in the community and has pushed to be heard within the community. So I do know how I can reach him. I can personally get in touch with him and talk to him about those things personally. He is now having a lot of other tasks and responsibilities. And so I'm not trying to hit him up on every little thing. I'm waiting for the biggest conversation that we can have in in the time when it's comfortable for he and myself included. All right. I do believe I have a comment. So let me go ahead and check out that comment. One second. So let's see who actually made that comment. Miss Dominique. What's going on, man? Hope you're having a good night. Sorry for that. Trying to get it to actually show, but not echo. All right. So he says, I honestly don't think he does. And I assume he's talking about Herschel Walker. But because Herschel and Trump has a history together, when Trump started a football league, I think, in my opinion, it was a move to persuade the blacks or even the black athletes to buy into this voting for Trump. Yeah, yeah. Um, when it comes to influencing the black community, I've seen them pull all the stops except for the actual remedying the situation. If they talk about reparations, there are tons of excuses as to why we don't deserve it. Yet we're the only group that has not received it. And I also go ahead and say that the Native Americans haven't received them either, because when they first did it, it was the Dawes Rolls, and those were individuals who were claiming to be of Native American descent. But that's still a question. So I won't go into any further into the specifics behind that, but I do believe you're 100% right. They are always trying to do things like this to gather the vote in the black community, and that's why I said I believe that he's a political placeholder for to capture the black vote. And they're starting in Georgia now because of, and you'll notice too that every time there is something that is done, like everyone has stepped up and voted. and they changed the outcome of what they feel is the election. And now you see this immediate response to where they are now trying to recapture the black vote uh, in their minds. I don't think they ever had them, but you know, I believe that that was the intent. So thank you for that comment. Um, and I know that comment was in response to the question that I asked earlier. What, if any, qualities did you believe that Herschel Walker would bring to the Republican establishment? So thank you for that contribution, Dominique, and I hope to hear from you again soon, man. I appreciate you participating in the show tonight. So moving forward, and you guys are welcome to continue to comment on anything that you see or that I've stated. I know that I'll probably shoot through this because we're at now at about an hour, but I'm just putting these questions out there, so it's not mandatory that you get them to me tonight. Just at any time, if you think of something later or whatever, or you talk it over with your buddy or whatever, because your buddy seems to be very politically oriented, and you want to submit this as something to state in this in this conversation, do so. That's fine. Um, you know, but getting back to the question, the last question, like I talked about, what leadership concept would help the African American youth become more than morally responsible? More morally responsible. And I gave you an example of what Willie Taylor would say to me. So, given that I think we understand that, so I'm going to move forward to the next question. Actually, I got a comment. Tara, how you doing, Tara? Hope you're having a good night. He says, I believe in a drastic makeover of our school system would be the most effective in reaching our youth. For example, providing 2 healthy meals a day, include personal development in the curriculum, add additional resources and personnel to assist the students with mental health issues, social services, etc. And of course, pay teachers more. Not going to argue with that, not one bit. In fact, when I started this Panther and Cage with my co-host, we were pushing another friend's agenda. She wanted to make Black history, African American history, a national initiative in public schools. I think we got about 300, close to 400 signatures, I believe, if not like 350 to 390 something. But we were looking to try to push this. And I still have the link for that. I'll try to see if I can post that later after I conclude the stream. But we thought that that was, the biggest way. I have not pushed it lately because of the questions and the hoopla that came around the critical race theory. So I'm not going to argue with you or against that at all. I think that is a wonderful answer. I think that is several answers into one. I'm going to take that down and use that for consideration to have a further discussion with you, Tara. This is actually in request to the Task Force for Humanity, some of the homework that was assigned to us. So I kind of want to see what, if I put it out there to my audience, what I would initially get back, or initially what feedback I would receive. So I definitely 100% agree with you. Thank you, Tara, for contributing to the conversation. And we are going to ask this question, and this is going to be important. So let me get to where I want to be accurate, I want to be correct. Very important question, okay? Now we have leaders, such as you see, you just saw Tara, she is one of the leaders in the Black community. So we have leaders that are working behind the scenes here in Brevard County. If you don't know who Tara Gibson is, I would tell you to go to her Facebook page. She has a page called All Black. I will click on that, follow that, make sure the notifications notify you whenever they go live or whenever she's got a ton of stuff. I do believe the last one that I caught, the last live stream I caught was dealing with a real estate, and some of the information that the young man she had on the show was so pertinent and so relevant. I wish I had received it about a year and a half earlier. But she's not too late. Everything is in the Most High's time. Just letting you know to go to her page, follow her. She has a lot of stuff going on. She can point you in a direction. If anybody could, she can point you in a direction and actually get you started if you are looking to have help with your business, your Black business here in Brevard. So I wanted to express that, so that you guys know who she was. I didn't want to be rude, but yes, I do want to let you know we do have leaders behind the scenes here in Brevard County. But the question, as you see on the screen, which leadership style do you believe is needed the most? You got to remember that. That was one you got to write down. This is a big homework assignment here. And like I said, you can take 2 weeks, whatever, anytime. But look at this. You'll come up with the idea once you start actually studying your favorite leaders and looking at their leadership style or the leadership methodologies used by some of your favorite leaders. Very easy task, but just time consuming. And I do believe you can do it. If you care about this community, if you care about making a difference, if you had an opinion from 2020, from June 2020 on, even if you said all lives splatter, you can at least tell me what leadership style that you believe is needed the most. And if you say Trump's leadership style, I want to know what leadership style does Trump represent to you. Now, I know that's going to sound very conflated, but hear me out. One more question to ask before we talk about this, right? Which leader in Brevard County do you believe, as a member of the Brevard County community, do you believe has the most effective approach to reducing gun violence in Brevard County? One of the most important questions when we have this discussion about the Black on Black crime narrative, okay? It's a disgusting narrative. It's disgusting to even use the words because it's a concept created from white supremacy, just like we covered and we talked about the concept of Jim Crow. And we went into detail about all that stuff. The stereotypes and everything that created from T.D. Rice, the Jim Crow character, etc. So when we talk about this Black on Black violence within the Black community, we are honing in specifically on just the violence that is occurring with them. And just about every time that I have this conversation, and I ask them, I say, what violence are you talking about? I know what they're saying. I'm just trying to be precise, trying to be accurate and objective, trying to get, the information. And the first thing they're going to tell me is the gun violence. So that's why I'm asking this question. Which leader, okay, in the Brevard County community do you believe has the most effective approach to reducing gun violence in Brevard County? Somebody's going to say, Wayne, great. Love the fact that you said that. Now, tell me Wayne Ivy's leadership style. Tell me his leadership methodologies. And I think no one's going to be able to really actually give me that except one person that I know, and that's Vanessa Santiago. I do believe she knows. You don't need to make the comment, but you can if you'd like. I know that you know. I'm just interested to see what his supporters believe his leadership style and how it is effective. So that's why that is a very important question. If you can't answer that question, you're not going to be able to have, a conversation about the Black on Black crime. Now, I have a theory about you caring about it, but, I have to be fair, right? So those are all questions, all right? Let me get this question off the screen. Okay. So, one second, I think I got enough comment. No problem. Anytime. Getting back to now, all those questions that I just asked, they're all questions to help keep us in the right direction when we are being objective about the leadership here in Brevard County. Now, your answers to those questions will be used to just simply explore the health of the relationship with the African American community of Brevard. And, of course, these may be hard because they seem unfamiliar with when I was talking about the various leadership concepts and styles, right? But check this out. I'm doing something I normally don't do, right? But that is exactly why we here at Panther and Cage have attempted to explain and lay this foundation of conversations before we just engage in these conversations, okay? For months, I have been telling everyone that they are not ready for this conversation on the Black on Black crime narratives, okay? And this is one of the reasons why I've told you all this. It's because when we start discussing this very complex issue, hold on, let me go ahead and put it up on the screen. I know somebody's probably going to mute. All right, it's a negative narrative. We set out to eradicate these on a day-to-day basis, okay? So now, like I said, for months I've been telling everybody that y'all are not ready for this conversation. Uh, and I'm right. Um, this Tonight show is one of the reasons why I asked you about leadership styles and methodologies, and yet I didn't explain which leadership styles are out there. Okay, I didn't explain if there are 7 of them. I didn't explain if there are 14 of them. I didn't explain any of that, right? I usually do that so I can keep you involved in the conversation. But tonight I'm going to step out on faith and just say you already know it because you use this narrative. You use this one right here, this Black on Black crime narrative. So if you use it, then you would understand this on a deeper level. You would understand this to the point that you could just have the conversation right now, right here, right now. So this is exactly, if you're lost, this is exactly one of the reasons why I have told you all that you're not ready. And it's because when we just start discussing these very complex issues like Black on Black crime, in order for us to find these tangible resolutions, we have to be versed in all of the nuances, maybe not all, but most of the nuances, all right, that, at least the ones that are affecting the issue, right? So we have to understand that, the options and the opportunities are we have to explain them, have to understand what options and opportunities are available, as well as we need to actually, understand what is causing these acute symptoms, which are defined as the problems within the Brevard County community, right? So when we look at, some things like gun violence and the Black on Black crime narrative, right? We're looking at an acute symptom, okay? Like I said, we don't talk about white on black crime, black on white crime. We don't talk about white on white crime, Asian on Asian crime. We don't talk about it like that. We don't get specific for anybody else except for Black people. And it's kind of obvious. So when we get to that very acute symptom of systemic racism, we are, defining that as a problem within the Brevard County community. And this is why I said that. So I don't want you to think I'm not blowing smoke up your butt or anything like that. Sorry to use that term, but I'm just trying to be very clear about this whole conversation because I don't want you to think that I'm avoiding this because I haven't been. I'm trying to actually get certain things there. So when I ask these questions, like I'm asking about leadership styles, I should have 7, 8 people in here regurgitating this information right back at me right now. We should be having this conversation right now. You should be telling me right now why Wayne Ivy's leadership style, which could be transactional leadership, okay? Kind of giving one away, which could be transactional leadership, tick for tack. Hey, you do this and we'll do this for you. It may be it may be transactional. I prefer transformational, but it may be transactional. Tell me why his transactional leadership style is the most effective, because we may look at Alton Edmonds, his may be transformation. So why is it more effective than Alton Edmonds? This is the conversation that we should have had a year ago. We couldn't have it because I'm trying to put this information out there for you guys. But in this kind of situation, we're never too late, right? And there's no such thing as a dumb question. So give you another example, okay? Just so you're understanding me, so you're not thinking I'm just making this stuff up. One example was how we started off this conversation about race in America, all right? Now, the conversation started with reparations. All my day ones will know that. Yet we never get into the nuances of reparations. We only talked about who deserved it and who didn't before I was invited to a conversation live with Willie Taylor. And, I then gave the Let's Talk About It group, which I don't even think it was called that then. I gave them more knowledge about the inception and how the idea came to be known as 40 acres and a mule. Okay. All that knowledge that I provided surrounding that issue revealed another nuance that was not being considered when the conversation initially occurred. And so this is where Panther and Cage was actually born, out of the needs for the, the needs, like the need to understand what was racism versus what was race baiting, and how those terms were being misused to appropriate a conversation that was turning completely negative to the Brevard County African American community. So we stepped in and we tried to do what we could. We tried to be, I don't want to say that we were being heroes, but it's a very heroic effort to have these conversations on a weekly basis. And if you think that's, not true, try doing that. In fact, you have an opportunity every week. We give you an opportunity to say that. In fact, we'll give you a special edition if you actually want to make that conversation. So go ahead, like you normally do, get in the DMs, tell me you want that conversation or whatnot. We'll get you on the show or whatnot. And I bet you Cage will come out of retirement. Not that he's really in retirement, but he's got a different kind of priorities going on right now. So let me get this one off the screen because we beat that a little bit up, gave you a preview. This is your opportunity to have that conversation. Most people want to have that conversation until it's time to go on air. So tonight, I'm going to make this leap of faith, like I said, okay? And I'm seeing if we're capable, if we can gather any participation, which we did, but any more, in a very simple yet objective, questions that I fielded earlier. Now, there are questions that are safe to throw out there before we have more in-depth conversations about, leaders in the Black community, before we have conversations about specific leadership styles of members of the Black community in the 1960s, or leadership concepts and theories like, that we believe our Brevard County Black community leaders should be undertaking, right? Now, these are very important topics, as you can see. And these are one of the most important topics that Panther and Cage has engaged in to date, okay? So depending upon the participation, this conversation may be expanded into exploring leadership styles so that we can become more familiar with the options that may create divergent yet successful opportunities that will make the difference here in Brevard County. Now, everyone can benefit from examining a group's leadership model. Doesn't matter who you are, okay? Everyone can benefit from examining a group's leadership model, okay? Even in the United States military, when we look at the enemy and we look at their leadership style or their leadership model, we learn. Even if we were to use it for whatever reason, we learn, okay? So anyone can benefit from examining a group leader's leadership model, all right? And you can be safe assuming that I do feel comfortable in applying these academic definitions as you see every week. But it isn't absolutely necessary at this point in time. So you don't have to be, just give your comment, give your opinion like Dominic did. But just know that by answering those questions, the audience, will, when you go back and look at this video, the audience will better understand the elements that are involved, okay? The leaders concerned can then anticipate the demands and the expectations of those who are invested in the positive outcomes for the community. And I'm gonna say this again, all right? This is an important concept, right? In fact, it is. Let me go ahead and get that so that you can see. That's the thing tonight, right? Leaders concerned can anticipate the demands and the expectations of those who are invested in the positive outcomes of this community, okay? Not only will your contributions as comments that you make here on the show tonight and any other time, not only are those contributions also aiding Brevard County's Black leaders in understanding their own leadership styles and theories, okay? They'll help those leaders also understand how to make their leadership more effective as well, okay? So yes, I'm learning as I'm doing this. We're all learning. We're all getting this opportunity to be able to be better citizens, right? Now, I've seen a lot of things positive to counter this wave of negative things that I've experienced recently lately. Um, I am aware that there are community leaders who are making differences in the lives of children through sports. Corey, shout out to you, man. Appreciate what you're doing. Um, Hopefully, one day I can go and get you on the show, spotlight everything that you're doing so everybody else can. If you are curious about that, let me know, and I'll immediately try to see if I can get together. This guy is extremely busy. He's got things going on with the Space Coast Stars and with Hondo Athletics. So um, I'll try to see if I can get you another link to put in the comment section if you're curious about that. But like I said, get into the DMs, message me like you normally do, and we'll take care of that. But I am also aware that there are community leaders who are making a difference in the lives of children through educating them in regard to trade. Big ups to Tara Gibson on doing that, guys. She's doing that. Like I said, get over to her page, check it out. She's always got stuff. She's always involved in stuff. I don't even think this girl sleeps. Okay, but I'm also aware that there are community members who are making a difference in the lives of minority youth through programs that teach science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and that's STEM. Okay, that's a big issue. I was just talking about that with another friend really recently, and they said that they need more of this, and I can't disagree. Uh, Definitely can't disagree. Okay, you're teaching trades, and STEM is amazing. You have these little future engineers, growing up. That's well beyond my level, right? So these are all great forms of progress that are designed to keep our youth here in Brevard on the positive tracks, on tracks that lead to brighter futures, and it gives them actually more abundant opportunities. So know that there are leaders behind the scenes that are doing all this. Okay, I just mentioned them just a moment ago. All right, shout out to Tara again. But we're searching for more solutions regarding the aspirations to assist the growth and the success of Black businesses in Brevard. So if you have any information about any solutions, any advice, anything that could help to assist with the growth and the success of Black businesses in Brevard, get in the comment section. Okay, message message Tara. She's the one you actually probably need to talk to directly. Message Tara. Okay. We're also searching for solutions regarding Brevard County's African American youth to end gun violence. I know that Alton Edmond is directly dealing with this, so you can get into his, find him on social media. Not hard to find. I know that you can get right into his message in his inbox, and I'm sure that he'll get, you get right in touch with him and he'll communicate to you. Another man by the name of Michael Fedor, I am 100% sure this man has the resources to be able to tell you exactly what he's doing and exactly what you can do to help influence Brevard County's African American youth to end the gun violence. Okay, so these are concepts that, like I said, I'm fighting alone, but I'm not alone. Okay, so I just want to kind of say that that these are all real concepts that I brought up here tonight. They're all real concepts that are on the table. Right, that's why I call this community demands, community leadership demands. But this community demands conversation, okay, it's real. All right, and all these concepts are on the table. All right, so I will soon conclude this live stream because it was not meant to be a 2-hour live stream. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. But that does not mean that you are not, too late in submitting your opinions or your solutions regarding the direction of the leadership methodologies and that that you guys believe should be prioritized here in Brevard County. So you can simply make the contribution through commenting after this video has been concluded, and subsequently posted to our Panther and Cage Facebook page. This video will be posted, or it actually is being streamed right now, and it will be posted in the Let's Talk About It group on Facebook as well, where you can engage exclusively with other Brevard County citizens. You guys can have a conversation in there. Anything, it's kind of off limits in there or whatnot. It's just that I ask that you be respectful, responsible, because in the very beginning we did get conversations calling Black people animals, and I don't take well to that. Okay, we're not going back to making America, that kind of 1920s great. Nah, bro, it's not happening. Anyway, there are some other things that we can speak about tonight I didn't prepare, 100%, this leadership, it gets in depth. This is a part series, and I'm just pushing this out there now because I've been having too many conversations about, Black leadership and Black on Black crime and what we should do, what I should do. So here it is, putting this out there tonight. So I'm not really keen on extending this conversation beyond this point tonight, beyond the points that I've just made. We have 2 different conversations already currently going on. And because of the operational tempo that myself and my co-hosts are experiencing, it's become a challenge to bring you all a very quick conclusion to the evidence of systemic racism in America. Hear me out though. I said it was a challenge and not that we couldn't do it, right? So, so don't believe that this means that we're conceding in our efforts to eradicate the negative narratives that socially perpetuate cultural or social bigotry. And social unacceptance of the African American diaspora. Don't believe that this means that we're conceding. Far from that. Just means that we're having a time trying to bring this to you very quickly because it must be researched. We are still dealing with a few things about the Irish American diaspora and how they elevated out of the ghettos and somehow supplanted the African Americans. America supplanted the African Americans in those ghettos and created a system after FDR implemented his FEA. So anyway, I hope that you all that are participating, hope that you can tell us out, but I hope that you all receive something through the engagement of this live stream. I also hope that you submit substantial contributions in your comments regarding the answers to the questions that I've asked here tonight. I hope that we can, have these revelatory conversations stemming from questions that I've submitted, to you here. And I hope we have those conversations in the future. But please exercise. This is your opportunity to exercise and utilize critical thinking. Okay. I would like to say happy birthday to everyone celebrating a birthday today. I know there's a special person out there celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday to you. I hope that you have many, hope you celebrate many, many, many more. Okay. Let me go ahead and look at this before I conclude. Let me go ahead and look at this last comment. I do know that Tara just mentioned the comment. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know I'm not alone. Sometimes it feels like it. I know everybody's in the back. I know they're just fighting, these more tangible fights. I'm only just taking out the narratives so that we can have discussions that push us forward. So I thank you for your support. Appreciate it. Go ahead and tag anybody that you feel like may need to see this or hear this message. I greatly appreciate it. Let me see. All right, this has been Panther and Cage Community Leadership Demands 2. Please visit the Panther and Cage Facebook page and tell us your opinion. Let us know what you think about the show, what we can do, what you're looking forward to, what you want to see me talk about and cover. You can even do that. So you can help contribute to the show. But I'm Panther. And I pray that you all are embraced in love, peace, and I pray that the Most High guides your path.